Tonight's movie review was requested by longtime OAW faithful and OAW patron Double O Soldier. Salute to you, fam. And if you have a request for a film that you would like to see reviewed right here on OAW Entertainment, become a patron at patreon.com/OAW and select the blockbuster tier. In addition to your request for a film review, you will also get access to all Patreon exclusive content. You'll get access to the OAW Vault, and you'll get an invite to join in on the live monthly Q&A held right here on the OAW YouTube channel, as well as the OAW Facebook page, and starting this month, the OAW Twitch channel. So once again, that is patreon.com/OAW and select that blockbuster tier. And with that being said, this is going to be my review of the 2020 video game film adaptation hit Sonic the Hedgehog. Let's get it started.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
Greetings to everyone watching live and everyone watching after the fact. Shout out to the faithful and salute to the patrons. This is Larry Williams, OAW Commander-in-Chief, here to bring you all this week's movie review. And once again, another huge shout out to OAW faithful and OAW patron Double O Soldier, longtime supporter of the channel. This was another film he wanted me to take a look at. So yeah, tonight we are going to be talking about Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, real quick, for those of you all who might have any questions or comments that you want to make sure get read right here live on camera before the end of tonight's broadcast, drop me a super chat and I'll make sure to get to that. Also, if you want to support the channel, you can also do so via Cash App and PayPal. Links to those are in the description box below. But yeah, let me go ahead. Oh, since you're going in that description box, go ahead, click see more in the description box. Read along with your boy as I break down, give you all some background information and a brief synopsis of this film. All right, so this is my review of the 2020 action-adventure comedy film Sonic the Hedgehog, starring Jim Carrey, James Marsden, Tika Sumpter, and Ben Schwartz as the voice of Sonic. Based on the video game franchise published by Sega, the film was written by Pat Casey and Josh Miller and directed by Jeff Fowler in his directorial debut. Now, brief synopsis of the film, and I got this straight from the film's website. Brief synopsis of the film. When the world needed a hero, we got a hedgehog. Powered by incredible speed, Sonic the Hedgehog, aka the Blue Blur, embraces his new home on Earth. That is, until he accidentally knocks out the power grid and sparks the attention of super-uncool evil genius Dr. Robotnik. Now it's super villain versus Super Sonic in an all-out race across the globe to stop Robotnik from using Sonic's unique power for world domination. Sonic teams up with the Donut Lord, aka Sheriff Tom Wachowski, to save the planet in this live-action adventure comedy that's fun for the whole family. Okay, first and foremost, it is not an all-out race across the globe. Okay, they go from what is it? Where's Green Hills? Is it in Wisconsin? To San Francisco. That's not across the globe. So I just want to put that out there. But like I said, I got that synopsis straight from the film's website, and I thought it was hilarious. It was too funny not to include in the description box. It was too funny not to include. All right, so that's pretty much a brief synopsis of what this film of the film's plot. So I'm going to give you all pretty much my review of it, give you all my thoughts, break this thing down. You guys know how we do. I'm going to start off with the writing, which is going to encompass the story, the plot, and the dialogue. Then I'll get into some of the characters, get into the graphics, special effects, things like that, get into some of the music, and then we'll wrap this whole thing up. All right, so what did I think about Sonic the Hedgehog? It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. I'll be honest with you guys. So when this film came out, because this was pretty much like our last major blockbuster right before the quarantine hit, right? So when this film came out, like I heard most people say favorable things about it. Like most people I know liked it. The only people who didn't care for it were the diehard Sonic fans, and I can see why. Because off from Jump Street, off the gate, this film is not an adaptation of the game. It's not. It's loosely inspired by the game. The story is totally original. It's a totally original story. The plot is totally original. It's its own thing. So we're not adapting any of the Sonic mythology in this. Nothing from the games, nothing from the comics, nothing from any of the animated series. Like, it's totally original. So for fans who wanted to see a proper, live action film adaptation, I can see why they were disappointed. I can't really blame them. But that being said, the film's not bad. It's the one thing I will say, because I'm starting to see this more and more, right? So you guys might have seen in some of my older, some of my previous movie reviews where I've made comments like this feels like a mid 2000s film. And I've said that a few times because I'm starting to see it more and more and more. And this is what I mean. Because y'all like, Larry, what are you talking about? What do you mean by that? All right, let me tell you what I mean by that. In the early to mid 2000s, right, a lot of movies started pretty much incorporating these formulas, right? And the plots, right, very much stuck to these formulas to the point where the movies kind of got predictable, right? To the point where, especially when it was like these like action adventure, like comedy family films, you could almost you can anticipate the punchline of every joke. You know what I mean? Now, here's the other thing too. A lot of those films were pretty much catering to the same type of humor, right? They were trying to hit the same type of comic beats, and they were always referencing or calling back to like the same sort of like pop culture references, right? And that's the other thing too. That's when you started seeing like a huge influx of like pop culture references in all of these movies, right? And like I said, Hollywood was dominated by these things like in the early to mid 2000s. Once we got into like, by 08, 09, 2010, we started sort of getting away from that. But every now and then, depending on what movie you were watching, you would still sort of see that same type of fare. Well, what I'm saying is, I'm starting to see that pop up again in different genres too, because like I remember when I saw Venom, the first thing I said about I'm like, dude, this feels like a mid 2000s movie. Like, this feels like it could have come out in like '05, right? And in many respects, I kind of say the same thing about Aquaman. Because I was like, man, like this feels like it, circa '06, '07 sort of thing. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Don't get me, don't get me wrong. That's not necessarily a bad thing. But like I said, that formula and some of those familiar tropes, I'm starting to see resurface again. Sonic has those. Sonic has those where this feels like it should have come out like '03, '05, something like that. Cuz it does play off of that same formula. Granted, I think it does it better. I think it does it better than most because this film is actually a lot smarter than I think it gives itself credit for. And it's a lot more earnest. And that's something I've been missing, especially from like family films and films that films that kids can actually watch. Because we went through that. Technically, we're still kind of going through that where we have like this just slew of films that we market towards kids, but they really aren't intended for kids. And you had a lot of that in the mid 2000s too. For an example, like that Cat in the Hat film, the live action Cat in the Hat film with Mike Myers, that's not for kids. That's not for kids, right? But we marketed towards them, right? There were commercials on like Nickelodeon and stuff, right? Well, Sonic is actually a lot more earnest than that. Because like I was impressed to find that there wasn't any crude humor, there wasn't any sexual humor. They didn't have a bunch of like sexual innuendos laid all into the dialogue and stuff like that. Like, none of that. Like, this is a good film for kids. In the same way I said like with Aquaman, right? I was like, dude, Aquaman is a good film for kids. And you know what? Even Venom, as violent as that is, I'm like, dude, I would let a 12-year-old watch this. Like, it's not that terrible. So so yeah, those things I appreciate about Sonic. Like, I dug that. And okay, so let's dwell a little bit more into the story. And I'll try to keep this as spoiler free as possible. Just because like it just came out on Blu-ray and DVD, I think a couple of months ago, I think like in May. So like you guys can still find it, on shelves. It I don't think it's on any major streaming apps yet. But except for like I know you could probably get it on Amazon Prime, but oh yeah, Blue Gatorade for the occasion, right? But yeah, so let me talk a little bit more about the story, a little bit more about the plot, right? So, like I said, plot wise, pretty generic. And if any of you guys have seen like any of the Sonic like animated series, especially with like Sonic X for an example, like it is the standard Sonic on Earth plot. Sonic is on Earth, he befriends a human, that human helps Sonic in his mission to stop Dr. Robotnik. That's pretty much the plot of all of these types of stories, right? What's different about this one is number one, the fact that Sonic grew up on Earth. So that's the one big game changer than from some of the other Sonic properties, right? Because usually it's always Sonic makes it here from his world and he's always trying to find a way to get back home. This time Earth is Sonic's home. So that's different. The second thing is Dr. Robotnik is not a independent sort of like mad genius inventor. Like in this film, he is essentially an agent of the government, right? He's government funded, he's government backed. So, and he's American, So that was kind of interesting too. And what they decide to do with this story is Robotnik, essentially, like I said in the synopsis, yeah, sort of Sonic's been in hiding, right? Like this entire time, the whole time he's been on Earth, and essentially he literally puts himself on the map when he knocks out the power grid in the town of Green Hills, right? So once that happens, the government's on high alert and they send Robotnik in because he's a technology expert to try and figure out what happened. Once Robotnik figures out what's going on, he makes it his point to try and kidnap Sonic so he could harness Sonic's power. Essentially, is what he wants to do. So, like I said, pretty standard plot. The only thing about the plot that is a little contrived is what happens when Sonic finally comes face to face with Tom Wachowski, which is our main like human protagonist, because the whole situation about the rings and them ending up in San Francisco, that is pretty much an excuse for us to go on a road trip. That's pretty much all it is. It's an excuse for us to go on a road trip. But besides that, like I said, as standard and formulaic as the plot is, it's fine. It serves its purpose. It suffices. Going back to what I was saying though, the things I appreciate about the movie, where it's smarter than it gives itself credit for, the comedy is actually a lot smarter than I thought it would be. Especially when you take in consideration like the comments that they make a lot. So first and foremost, like the small town humor I think works, right? Because Tom is sort of the Mr. Fix It. He's the sheriff of the town, but he's also the guy that like helps out everyone in the town. And as soon as he's not able, like as soon as he's not there, you see how like incompetent his deputy is. The fact that like Sonic is an urban legend in the town, and there's like, what is it, Crazy Carl, who's like, oh no, I've seen the blue blur, like I know it. And how they play like Sonic is totally aware of Crazy Carl and he messes with him on purpose, right? And how there's a huge payoff at the end when the rest of the town finds out about Sonic, and Crazy Carl's like, I told you, right? So like that sort of thing, right? That works out really well. The We don't do necessarily speed puns, but we do make jokes about how Sonic's powers work. So like that I think is kind of interesting. Um Robotnik is probably one of the funniest things about the movie. Though, okay, no, I think we are supposed to laugh at, because Robotnik's whole thing is that he's smarter than everyone else and he knows it. So he's totally full of himself. He's totally conceited, totally self-absorbed. He's pretty much a sociopath, and he belittles and patronizes every human being he comes in contact with. That is hilarious. It is. It's hilarious. Um, the hubris of Robotnik is so funny, and it works so well because it is his greatest character trait and his biggest character flaw. And in, traditional sort of comic book villain-esque fashion, that flaw, that hubris leads to his downfall. Yep. And there are so many times where he did not have to. Like he gets multiple opportunities for change where he does not need to engage, but he does it. He presses the button. So all of that I think works pretty well. Okay, so let's talk some characters, shall we? So like I said, okay, so I just got done talking about Robotnik. Let me see if there's anything else I want to mention about him before I move on, because the thing about it is they sold this movie on Jim Carrey being Robotnik. Like that was kind of like the big draw because he's the biggest name in the film. And I remember even when he was cast, like there was so much hoopla about it because it's like Jim Carrey, who has kind of vanished from Hollywood these last handful of years. He hasn't really done much, right? Outside of his own like independent projects. Because he's had his own like show. I think I think his show was on Netflix. But like in terms of like mainstream, Hollywood pictures, Jim's kind of been, falling back the last couple of years. So the fact that he came out for this like shocked a lot of people, right? And he really wanted to play this role and whatnot. I can imagine Jim Carrey probably has an affinity for the character. Honestly and truly, though, I mean, his Dr. Robotnik is kind of referencing back to his Riddler from Batman Forever. Sort of is, sort of is. I will say that while I think Carrey is probably the breakthrough live action performance in the film, it is what I mean. He is who we thought he was. Like it's exactly what I expected from Jim Carrey doing this role. Exactly like what I expected. So yeah, nothing. Like I said, nothing negative. It's just kind of par for the course for Jim Carrey. So there it is. I will say I will be interested to see what I'll be interested because so far, I mean, this isn't a spoiler. I think it's already been officially announced. They're going to do a sequel. This movie made too much goddamn money for them not to do a sequel. And I'm assuming we're going to bring Carrie back for that. I will be much more interested in seeing what he does in the sequel because I think that will be more of a faithful rendition of Robotnik, more accustomed to what we're, used to seeing for him, right? Okay, so let me talk about Tom, which is James Marsden's character. I think he does a good job. I mean, Marsden's pretty much is doing this. He's doing Marsden. That's kind of Marsden does like that sort of like how do I put this? That sort of like everyman, that salt of the earth, everyman type character. That's what he does, right? That's his bread and butter, and that's what Tom is, and he does it very, very well. I'm gonna say though, the surprise performance for me was oh I said uh Tom, Tom's wife, Maddie, who is played by Tika Sumpter. She was sort of the surprise performance for me because I didn't think I would like her as much as I did. I also didn't think she would be in the film as much as she is. And I kind of wish she was in the film a little bit more. But of course, she's okay. This is I'm another stone I'm gonna throw at the plot. Of course, she has to. Of course, halfway through the film, she has to conveniently leave to go visit her sister, who just so happens to be in the same city that Sonic just so happened to lose his rings in, just so that we have a point of contact for Tom and Sonic when they make it to San Francisco. Of course. Of course, because, and this is why I said it's convenient. Because remember, Maddie says she's going to go visit her sister in San Francisco so that they can look for houses because Tom just got a new job in San Francisco. They're supposed to go house hunting, right? But her sister lives in San Francisco. And the explanation is, oh, Sonic just thought of San Francisco because that was the city on the shirt that Tom was wearing when he encountered Sonic and when he hit him with the tranquilizer gun. Dude, that that that's plot contrivance all over the goddamn place. Oh, I'm sorry, plot convenience all over the goddamn place. Just because you can explain why everything happened doesn't mean that the fact that it happened isn't convenient as hell. I'm rolling my eyes at that one. So, yeah, I'm going to critique the plot for that one. So, moving on. But let's get back to Maddie. I actually liked Maddie. I like Maddie. I dug her. I dug her. But no, honestly, the breakthrough performance in the film is Ben Schwartz as Sonic. I've kind of I wouldn't say I'm a Ben Schwartz fan. I've just been familiar with him for a long time, just because I've been seeing him like in television and in film in a long time. And when I heard that he was the one that got the gig for Sonic, I was like, okay, I can kind of see why they chose him because he does have that voice. Surprise. Okay, so here's this is why I said I was surprised with his performance because we did our depiction of Sonic in this film is so much more of an underdog. Whereas usually the I'm sort of accustomed to the can't be beat Sonic. Like I'm accustomed to the cocky, you know, uh, you know, quippy, smart alecky, yeah, I can do whatever I want and no one's fast enough to stop me, but he's a good guy, so we love him. Like I'm the spunky Sonic, right? Like that's the rebellious, rebel with a cause Sonic. That's what I'm more accustomed to. And so that's why I thought they cast Schwartz because I'm like, oh yeah, he can do. I mean, sure, you can consider this from a negative perspective. If you want like pretend, like if you want that like quippy, pretentious, borderline douchebag type voice, Schwartz is your man because he knows how to play that character well. And like I said, that's if you turn that persona on its negative side. Because, of course, like I said, Sonic's the good guy. We root for him. So we love his trash talk. We love how full of himself he is. You know what I'm saying? Because it's the perfect foil for Robotnik, who's pretty much on the opposite side of the same flipping coin, right? But that's not what we did with Sonic. This Sonic is Rocky. You know what I mean? This Sonic is, I mean, he's sort of like Hercules in the Disney adaptation, right? Like he has to stay hidden. I mean, dude, he is a superhero if you think about it. He's sort of like a superhero. But yeah, he is this lonely outsider, this newcomer from a distant world who spends most of he spends his life in hiding out of fear of discovery because not just the danger that brings to him, but the danger that also brings to people who might want to protect him from said harm, right? He has this phenomenal power that even he doesn't know everything about, and he just wants to belong, and he just wants some sense of freedom and some sense of security. You know what I mean? He just wants a friend, you know? Uh, Dude, I was not expecting that. I wasn't expecting that from this film. And like I said, it's earnest. It earns that. This film has a lot more heart. And I think that resonates with a lot of people. I think that'll resonate with a lot of kids because let's be real about this. In 2020, yeah, we don't get a lot of those narratives. You know what I mean? Everything is so fucking dark and gloomy and bleak nowadays. Um, and yeah, is it cheesy? Yes. Is it corny? Yes. Guess what? When the chips are down and there's the fucking showdown in the middle of the street, in the middle of Times Square, in Green Hills, and Robotnik pretty much threatens the town people, and Sonic's like, no, you're not. And he starts fucking lightening up and shit. Dude, if you look, I'm gonna tell you this. If you weren't on the edge of your seat, like getting ready for cheer for my man Sonic, you ain't got a heart. Turn this goddamn video off right now and go back and watch Game of Thrones. That shit was awesome. Like I felt that one. I was like, yep, 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 yep. They earned the scene. They earned this scene. Yep. That was freaking awesome. That was freaking awesome. I will say this though. I kind of wish we would have did more pinball. Which is probably that's going to be a good segue into the graphics part of this discussion. But like I said, so just wrapping this one up in terms of characters, I do think the breakthrough performance is Ben Schwartz. Partially because of his voice performance, but then also because the way Sonic is written, I think is done pretty good. Now let's talk about them graphics, Shelby, because like I said, I was just talking about the climax, the big showdown at the end of the film. And yeah, we do the whole pinball thing. I kind of wish we would have done it a little more though. And also, I don't like the fact that we get like cuz we don't it's not pure blown like it's not full blown Sonic pinball. Cuz really it's just Sonic jumping back and forth to a bunch of different points, dealing out the damage to Robotnik's tech. I wanted I wanted straight up like Smash Brothers, like he balls up and he starts spinning just in one place. Maybe even we can see smoke on the asphalt because he's in the middle of the road, right? So we get the sound and the electricity going, and I wanted straight up like crazy ass pinball. And that's not really what we get. It's kind of like that, but I'm like, nah, dude, y'all should have went full blown straight pinball action, and it would have been freaking awesome. That's the only thing about that final fight that got me, that we didn't do that enough. Yeah, I kind of wanted to see that, but other than that, though, graphics wise, I think the CG works. If I'm being honest, probably the best CG in the film is Robotnik's drones. That's probably the best CG in the film. Because I would say like it's almost on par with the with Spider-Man Far From Home. It's just that Robotnik's drones are supposed to look like cartoony, but I mean, in terms of like the way in which they are animated in the film and integrated in the film, I think worked pretty well. Especially when we get to see them like when there was the drone in the house, like I kind of bought like that drone could actually be there, so that I think was fine. The CG at the very beginning of the film in Sonic's home, that I thought was all good, but I'm gonna say this, because somebody asked me about the redesign, and I'm gonna be real. The beginning of the film is where the redesign is sort of like the most noticeable. And the reason for that is because the other forest, like animal creature-esque characters in Sonic's home world, those characters are still designed to look like semi-realistic, whereas Sonic clearly looks more cartoonish. So, like, because Long Claw, you can tell that was the original design. And I'm like, yeah, because it's way too detailed. It's way too detailed. It looks almost like it's going for um Legend of the Guardians, the Owls of Gahul, right? It looks almost like it's going for that. I'm like, that's a little too detailed. Like it should be more simplified. So that's why Sonic looks so weird compared to Longclaw. It's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. He looks weird by comparison. Um, but once Sonic makes it Earthside with the redesign, I think it works just because Sonic is a flippin' alien. He's not supposed to look realistic. And that's sort of the gripe I had about the original design because I'm like, why are y'all trying to make him look realistic? He's a flippin' alien. He doesn't have to look realistic. He does not have to look like he could belong to our world. Like, of course, he's a blue hedgehog with sneakers and gloves. Of course, he doesn't belong to our world. But what I'm saying is, you don't have to make it look like he could. Like, he's not a mutant hedgehog. You dig? This isn't TMNT. He's not a mutated hedgehog. So, yeah. But I'm gonna tell you this. With some of I don't I don't think with some of like the facial expressions and some of the animations we do with Sonic, I don't think you pull that off with that original design. That only works with the redesign. The way he uses his brow, you know what I mean? Some of those expressions with his mouth, those only work with a cartoony type Sonic. So I'm glad they did that redesign. For if for nothing else, for that reason, I'm glad they did the redesign. And then I mean action wise, the action is fine. It's the car chase was kind of weird. The car chase was kind of weird. Mainly, yeah, dude, just the whole car chase I thought was odd because I'm like, Sonic can move so much faster than that car. And by that point in the film, he had his speed back. Like I could see if they were if I could see if the car chase was sort of at the start, like as soon as they had left Green Hills, is when the car chase took place because Sonic was still tranquilized and he couldn't use his legs. It would have made sense then. But where that car chase takes place, I'm like, Sonic has all of his why are we do why are we why? Why why? I just thought that was odd. I really thought that was odd. Should I talk about the bar scene? Should I talk about the bar fight? Okay, I'll mention this briefly. Had we not had the slow-mo scene in X-Men Days of Future Past and then repeated in X-Men Apocalypse, I think it would have been awesome in this film. But the fact that we did the slow motion music, funny, we did another Quicksilver scene, ladies and gentlemen. And it makes sense that that would be in this movie. But the fact that we've already seen it twice, and I think even the Flash TV show did it at one point. I'm like, yeah, nah. I think we should have skipped it for this one. It makes sense that it's here, but I think we could have skipped it for this one. Okay, so music. I don't really have that much to share about the music. Music is fine. I my only thing is I kind of wish we would have gotten more of the original music from the game because there's some of it there, but not enough. Kind of wish we would have gotten more music from the game. But yeah, I mean the music that we do get is fine. It's totally fine. So, final thoughts. Final thoughts. I'm going to talk about the potential sequel because I think it was officially announced, and we did get two post-credit scenes that sort of set up the sequel. Well, I hope the sequel does dive more into the mythology. I'm hoping by the sequel, we get chaos, emeralds. Um, I'm hoping we get more of Sonic's like character cast. Yeah, I'm hoping to see that. I'm hoping to see that at some point. One final thing I'm going to mention. There's a running gag in the movie. There's a running gag in the movie that I think is supposed to be an Easter egg for another potential video game adaptation because we kept bringing up the goddamn mushroom planet. And I'm like, are they talking about the Mario planet? Because that's where I thought they were going with that. The only reason why I'm not entirely sure about that is because when we do finally get to see the mushroom planet, there's not enough greenery. And so I'm like, that can't be Princess Toadstool's planet because nope. Let me take that back. Because now that I think about it, what we get to see of said mushroom planet, I think is the third world. It's the third Super Mario Brothers world because it's the one with all the red and orange mushrooms, and that's the third world. Because of course the first world is the regular green one. The second one is the underground level. The third one is the one with the little mushroom top like trees. So maybe that's what they were referencing. And I remember somebody getting the film rights to Super Mario Brothers, but I don't know if it was Paramount because Paramount did this, and I don't remember if it was Paramount. But correct me if I'm wrong. Did Paramount do Detective Pikachu? Because I remember hearing news about how like they were going to do sort of like the Smash Brothers universe because they were doing all of these separate video game adaptations that were apparently supposed to wrap up into like a big team up, right? So someone help me out here. Did Paramount do Detective Pikachu as well? I can probably find that out before the chat even responds. Let me see. No, that's Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers did Detective Pikachu. Okay. All right. So yeah, so I don't know, but like they kept dropping that Easter egg. And I'm like, they're talking about Mario. Clearly they gotta be talking about Mario. But yeah, all right, guys. So shout out to everybody in the chat real quick. We're gonna do some let's see if we got any questions about the film. Okay, my man Dejon says, how did I feel about the original design for Sonic? I mentioned that earlier. Uh let's see. Me and Lucille says, should I watch this film? I think you should. I would recommend this film, especially if you have kids. If you have kids, I definitely recommend this film. If nothing else, this is a good film for the kids. If you get nothing out of it, you will at least know that your kids will probably get a kick out of it. Um, let's see. Oh, Green Hills is in Montana. Okay, thank you, Omega Katana. It's in Montana, not Wisconsin. It's one of them. One of them. One of them. Let's see. Let's see. Dijon asks, was Jim Carrey funny in this? Like I said, the his sort of like his condescension in the film is hilarious. I think it is. But that's because I have that type of humor. Adrian Mark says, "What's good? What's happening? Me and Lucille, Larry, what video game you think would make a good adaptation?" Well, I don't know if that God of War movie is supposed to be happening still. That was supposed to happen years ago. God of War, I think, would make for a good film trilogy. And I know they're supposed to be doing The Last of Us, and I think they're supposed to be doing Uncharted too. Because, but all of those games are like more cinematic type films. So, dude, I'll be honest with y'all. I'm surprised we haven't gotten a Metal Gear Solid film yet, because I thought that would have happened years ago. And Dijon just the very next comment was a Metal Gear Solid. Yeah, I thought that would have happened years ago. Personally, I wouldn't want to see any. I wouldn't necessarily want to see a video game film based off of a fighting game because the plots. I mean, for the most part, you're just looking for excuses to fight. So most fighting games don't have the most. They don't have the best stories because we're really just there for the fights. So if that's going to be the case, you have to deliver with your fights in that film. And a lot of films fall short if that's the case. Now, that being said, that new Mortal Kombat movie coming out, bruh, I am highly anticipating that one. But then again, Mortal Kombat is one of the video game franchises that always had a really cool mythology. So, like Mortal Kombat always had a cool story. So yeah, but I wouldn't necessarily want to see like another live action Street Fighter. I wouldn't necessarily want to see a Soul Calibur or a Tekken or anything like that. Not necessarily. But Mortal Kombat I'm waiting for. I'm definitely waiting for that one. Ball, 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 ball. Dude, especially since they got my boy Hiroyuki Sanada playing Scorpion. Ooh, bruh. Ball, I'm waiting for that movie. Waiting for that one. Okay, man. Oh, everybody falling in when I'm getting ready to leave. Okay, let's see. Any do me and Lucille, do they have Dr. Robotnik's theme? It's not exactly his theme. It's kind of like a rendition of it. But it's not the original theme. It's they reference to it. Then, dude, y'all on it tonight, man. Dude, the faithful, y'all on it tonight, man. Before I even do, I just mentioned that before I even do. I haven't even seen that. I just saw that comment, bro. Dude, the chat is on it tonight, man. Y'all about it. The faithful be coming. They be knowing. They know. They know. So do you think would make a good who do you think would make a good Ivy in a Soul Calibur movie? I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, bro. I could not tell you off the top of my head. Black Wolf, do you see this Sonic growing into the Sonic we know? Potentially, yeah. After he's whipped up on Robotnik a couple of times, yeah. What characters would you like to see in the next Sonic movie? Give me so we know Tails is happening. Give me Knuckles. Give me Amy. I would like the introduction of what's my girl's name? The bat. Rouge. I would like Rouge's introduction. Because I think Rouge could be a really good foil. Especially since she's the flyer. So like she would be a really good foil for Tails. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. for the sequel, if you give me Tails, Amy, Rouge, and Knuckles, I'm happy. I'm happy. I don't know. I don't know if they'll ever do Shadow, but Shadow is. I'm like, nah, dude. You save Shadow. If you ever decide to do Shadow, or what's the other one's name? I forget the other one's name. The white one. But if you decided to introduce any of those, I would hold off on those characters. All right, guys. So that is going to go ahead and that is going to wrap up my review of Sonic the Hedgehog. I want to take this opportunity to thank everybody for watching live. Thank everyone for watching after the fact. As always, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Guys, y'all don't know how much, dude, every like, every share, every thumb up on social media helps tremendously. It really, really does. You guys don't know. It is so much help. So please, guys, like I said, like, comment, share, subscribe, share it with anyone you think will get a kick out of it. Sharing any Facebook groups, Twitter threads, anything like that. Thanks again so much. Once again, another huge shout out to OAW Faithful and patron 00 Soldier. Thanks again. Salute to you, sir. Thanks so much for this request. Thanks so much for continuing to support the channel. And just a reminder for you guys, if you guys have a film y'all want me to review right here on the channel, become a patron at patreon.com/OAW. Select the Blockbuster tier. Once again, in addition to your request, you also get access to our Patreon exclusive content. You get access to the OAW Vote, and you get an invite to join in live on the monthly Q&A. I think I still have 2 spots available at that Blockbuster tier. And at the Blockbuster tier, you can request a film or a television series. So once again, patreon.com/OAW. Check out that Blockbuster tier. All right, guys. What to keep an eye out for later this week on Friday, there should be a new top 5 for you all. So keep an eye out for that. All right, guys. With that being said, this has been Larry Williams, OAW Commander-in-Chief. I am signing off, and it's time for me to get out of here. Until next time, peace.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?